The Cherry Blossoms and the Magic Flute by Dazai Osamu. When the cherry blossoms have fallen, and the leaves have fallen like this, I will surely remember. The old lady tells us. 35 years ago, my father was still alive at that time, and my family. Or rather, my mother had already passed away 7 years earlier when I was 13. So it was just my father, me, and my sister. When I was 18 and my sister 16, my father was appointed as the principal of a junior high school in a castle town along the Sea of Japan, in Shimane Prefecture, with a population of just over 20,000. There was no suitable rental house, so we rented 2 rooms. In a detached room of a temple that stood alone on the outskirts of town, close to the mountains, and lived there until I was transferred to a junior high school in Matsu in the 6th year. I got married after coming to Matsu in the autumn of my 24th year, which was quite a late marriage for those days. My mother died early, and my father was a stubborn scholar, completely ignorant of worldly matters. I knew that if I was gone, the family would be left in ruins, so even though I had been approached many times, I had no desire to leave home and marry someone else. If only my younger sister had been healthy, I would have been a little more at ease. But she was very beautiful, had long hair, and was very smart and cute, unlike me. But she was weak, and in the spring of my 2nd year after I was transferred to the castle town, when I was 20 and my sister was 18, she died. This is the story of that time. My younger sister had been in bad shape for quite some time. She had a terrible disease called kidney tuberculosis, and by the time it was discovered, both of her kidneys had already been eaten away by insects. And the doctor clearly told my father that she would live within 100 days. It seems there is nothing that can be done. A month passes, then 2, and the 100th day is fast approaching. But we have to watch in silence. My sister doesn't know anything, and is relatively healthy, confined to her bed all day. But she still sings cheerfully, jokes, and relies on me. When I think that in another 30 or 40 days, she will die, that is clearly decided, my heart fills with emotion. My whole body feels as if it is being stabbed with sewing needles, and I begin to go mad. March, April, May, yes. I will never forget that day in the middle of May. The fields and mountains were covered in fresh green leaves, and it was so warm that I wanted to strip naked. But the new leaves were so dazzling to me that they hurt my eyes. So I walked alone along the country path, one hand tucked under my sash, my head bowed, thinking about all sorts of things. I walked writhing around, thinking and thinking, until I could no longer breathe. A frightening sound echoed from the very depths of the spring earth, faint yet terrifyingly wide, as if it was coming from 100 billion earths, like a huge drum being beaten in the depths of hell. And I did not know what this frightening sound was, and wondered if I had really gone mad. My body stiffened and I stood there frozen, and suddenly I cried out loud, "Whoa!" Unable to stand any longer, I sat down on the grass and let out a cry. I found out later that the terrifying and mysterious sound was the sound of warships' cannons firing during the Great Battle of Tsushima, under the orders of Admiral Togo. The battle to destroy the Russian Baltic Fleet in one fell swoop was underway. It was right around that time, after all. Navy Memorial Day will soon be upon us again this year. The sound of cannons could be heard frighteningly in the castle town on the coast, and the townspeople must have lost all sense of life, but I was unaware of this. I was half insane, and was simply preoccupied with my sister. I felt like I was hearing some ominous drumbeat from hell, and I cried for a long time on the plain, without lifting my face. As the sun was setting, I finally got up, and returned to the temple in a daze, as if dead. "Big sister," my sister called out to me. At that time, my sister was also thin and weak, and she seemed to be gradually realizing that she didn't have much time left. She no longer asked me to do unreasonable things and became dependent on me like she used to. Which made it even more painful for me. Sis, when did this letter come? I was suddenly struck in the chest. And I realized that the color had gone from my face. When did it come? My sister seemed to be absent-minded. I pulled myself together and said, "Just a moment ago, while you were sleeping. You were sleeping with a smile on your face. I secretly left it by your pillow. You didn't know, did you?" Oh, I didn't know. In the dim room as dusk drew near, my sister smiled beautifully and whitely, and said, "Sis, I read this letter. It's strange. It's from someone I don't know. Is there anything she doesn't know? I know the sender of the letter, a man named M.T. I knew him well. No, I have never met him, but 5 or 6 days ago. When I was quietly sorting through my sister's dresser, I discovered a bundle of letters, tightly tied with a green ribbon, hidden at the bottom of one of the drawers. I knew I shouldn't have, but I untied the ribbon and looked inside. There were about 30 letters, all of them from M.T. However, M.T.'s name was not written on the front of the letters. It was written clearly inside the letters. And on the front of the letters were the names of various women as senders. And they were all real names of my sister's friends. So neither my father nor I even realized in our dreams that we were corresponding with so many men. I'm sure that this M.T. had carefully asked my sister for many names of her friends, and then sent her letters using those names one after another. I decided on this, and was secretly amazed at the boldness of these young people, and trembling with fear at the thought of what would happen if my strict father were to find out. However, as I read each letter, one by date, I began to feel happy and excited. And sometimes I found myself chuckling to myself at how trivial it was, and in the end, I felt as if a wide, big world was opening up even to me. I had only just turned 20 at the time, and as a young woman I had been through many unspeakable hardships. I read through the 30 or so letters, as if a river was flowing through me. And as I was reading the last letter, from last fall, I suddenly stood up. Maybe that's how you feel when you're struck by thunder. I was so shocked that I recoiled. The love between my sisters was not just emotional. It was progressing in a much uglier way. I burned the letters. I burned them all. M.T. was a poor poet who lived in the castle town, and the cowardly thing was that upon learning about my sister's illness, he had casually written cruel things in his letters, such as abandoning her and telling her to forget about each other. And it seemed like he never wrote me another letter after that. So if I just kept quiet and never spoke to anyone for the rest of my life, my sister would be able to die as a beautiful young girl. No one knows, I thought, and I kept my pain to myself, but after I found out, I felt even more sorry for my sister. And all sorts of strange fantasies came to my mind. I felt a bittersweet ache in my chest. And it was an unpleasant, bittersweet feeling. Only a woman of her age could understand such suffering. It was hell on earth. I suffered alone, as if I had suffered such a tragedy myself. At that time, I was really a little strange myself. Sister, read it. I don't know what it's about. I don't understand it at all. I hated my sister's dishonesty from the bottom of my heart. May I read it? I asked in a low voice, and took the letter from my sister, my fingertips trembling with confusion. I knew the words of this letter without even having to open it and read it. But I had to read it as if nothing had happened. This is what the letter said. I read it out loud without really looking at it. Today, I would like to apologize to you. The reason I have held back from sending you a letter until today is entirely because of my lack of confidence. I am poor and incompetent. There is nothing I can do for you. I grew tired of my own powerlessness, unable to do anything other than prove my love for you with just words. And there is not a single lie in those words. I have never forgotten you for a day, not even in my dreams. But I am unable to do anything for you. This pain made me want to break up with you. The greater your misfortune and the deeper my love for you, the more difficult it becomes for me to get close to you. Do you understand? I am by no means trying to deceive you. I understood it to be due to my own sense of justice and responsibility. But that was my mistake. I was clearly wrong. I apologize. I was just being selfish and trying to be a perfect person for you. Since we are lonely and powerless and can't do anything else, I now believe that the true and beautiful way of living is to give at least words sincerely. I think we should always strive to achieve this to the best of our ability. No matter how small it may be, I believe that offering even a single dandelion flower without shame is the most courageous and manly attitude. I will not run away anymore. I love you. Every day, I will write a song and send it to you. Then, every day, I will whistle it outside the fence of your garden. And let you hear it. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I will whistle the battleship Machi right away. I'm good at whistling. For now, that is the only service I can easily perform with my own strength. Don't laugh at me. No, please laugh at me. Stay healthy. God is surely watching from somewhere. I believe it. You and I are both God's favorite children. I'm sure we will have a beautiful marriage. The peach blossoms bloomed tea.